lots of energy, lots of preparation to work, which is exactly what we want to hear, exactly why we're here tonight. Angry, that's fair. There's a lot to be angry about this week. Yes, determined, amazing. People from all over the country, wonderful. If you're just joining us, I just mentioned to folks while you're joining in, if you could just say in the chat your name, your pronouns, where you're calling from, and if you would like to share, if you went to one of the people marches this weekend, one word to describe how you're feeling walking away from those marches. Lots of hope. Yes. Ready. Amazing. Okay, thank you all. Let's get started. So, I want to thank you all so much for taking the time this evening to hop on this call. My name is Malika Elias. I use she, her pronouns. I am a program specialist at Women's March, and I'm super excited for tonight's discussion on what comes next after the People's March. Hundreds of thousands of you came out for the People's March this past weekend in DC and all across the nation. We even had a couple of international marches as well, which is incredible. And we want to thank you for showing up and making your voices heard. We hope that this past weekend was empowering for all of you, which it sounds like it was. We hope that it inspired you to keep going and to find ways that you can keep showing up for your communities. And that is why we're gathered here this evening. We have some really incredible guests from several People's March partner organizations who we will get to hear from this evening about what they are working on, how they're building power, and how you can get plugged in. So we have representatives from Popular Democracy, from Black Alliance for Just Immigration, which is also known as BAJI, Gender Liberation Movement, Feminist Front, and Young Feminist Party as well. And I will let our speakers introduce themselves before they start speaking. At the end of our speaker segment, we will have Q&A. So I ask that you hold your questions. If you post them in the chat, we will try to get to them or keep them and try to answer later, but we can't guarantee that. There's a lot of action happening in the chat already, and they may get buried. So please try to use the Q&A box if you do have questions, and we'll try to get to as many folks as possible. Before I pass it over to our panelists, I just want to remind you all that this webinar is going to be recorded. It will be live streamed to YouTube. As I just mentioned, the Q&A and chat functions are available to you all throughout the call. Please be mindful of your language in the chat. We do have people monitoring the chat for any trollish behavior. So if we see anything inappropriate, unfortunately, we will have to remove you. So please keep it cute, keep it respectful. I'm also going to quickly go over our community agreements. I'm going to drop a link to those in the chat. Give me one moment. Okay, oops, that's host and panelists. That's not very helpful. Okay, dropping those in the chat for you all. So I'm going to read these out loud super quick. First, we are committed to creating brave space, not what is often called safe space. We take care of ourselves and each other. We do what we need to stay grounded and present and focused and extend that support and care for the entire group. We are self-reflective and rigorous. We commit to ongoing reflection, curiosity, and work. Some of us have a degree in the school called life, and some of us have academic degrees. We aim to share information and create a space where it doesn't matter which you have or if you have both. We practice understanding and about how our lives and our issues are connected. We work to ensure everyone is and feels welcome in our space, regardless of race, gender, sexual identity, age, class, status, and ability. We oppose discrimination and bigotry of any kind, of course. We pay attention to how we use our voice and space so everyone can have a voice. We honor different learning styles and experiences. This is not a classroom. There are no prizes for being first or best. And lastly, we commit to moving ideas and principles into actions. We are practitioners and not perfectionists. So I invite you all to hold those agreements, review them again if you would like. And that is pretty much it for housekeeping. So now I would like to pass it over to our managing director at Women's March, Tamika Middleton, to say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. Thank y'all so much for joining us. We are 1,600 deep in this call today. So shout out to all of y'all who are joining, and people keep joining every moment. So I'm super excited to see all of y'all ready to take action. Um, as Malika said, my name is Tamika Middleton. I use she, her pronouns. I am the managing director at Women's March. I am joining y'all from Muskogee Creek territory, Atlanta, Georgia. I see some Atlanta folks in the chat. What it do? Um, I also want to just flag for everyone. I see y'all in the chat, and I love it. I just want to name, if you are trying to talk to everyone in the group, everyone on the call, make sure that your chat box where it says "to" says everyone and not host and panelists. If it says host and panelists, I mean, we want to see what y'all want to say, what y'all got to say, so appreciate it. But I'm sure that you want everyone else to see it too. So make sure you change that to say everyone and not host and panelists. All right. I want to keep it real quick. I don't want to take up a lot of time because we have amazing panelists. And those of y'all who have been around Women's March for a minute are used to hearing me rattle and prattle on. So I'm going to be short and just say thank you all of you who attended a People's March, who hosted a People's March, who showed up, who reposted, who took some videos, who made a sign, whatever it was that you did. Thank you for doing whatever it was that you did. If you weren't able to join us, that is also okay because we show up in the ways that we can, right? Our ask, our invitation to you in this time is to show up. And so that is one of the main purposes of the People's March, right? Is to create places for connection for folks to come in, for you to find an issue area, for you to find a movement, home, a group of folks that gave you hope, that gave you connection, that helped you see where you could be, that helped you transform that despair, that grief, that anger, whatever you were feeling into action. Because we have a fight ahead of us in the next few years. And in order to do that, we have to organize, organize, organize. I always, lean on the teachings of Kwame Ture, also known as Stokely Carmichael, who talks about the importance of being inside of an organization, being inside of a formation. And so that's what we're hoping to help y'all do today and throughout the rest of the year. You come in, the marches are a great place for you to come into the movement. Now we want you to stay in the movement. All right. So, um, the thing I want to offer is that every month, except for February, when the Women's March team will be taking a break, every other month, twice a month, we will have these mass organizing calls where our goal is to help you find a political home. So we will be featuring organizations that can tell you something about something that's going on in the world and how to get involved, and then will help land you in those organizations where you can keep up the fight over time. So every month, except for February, twice a month, you can meet us here on the Zoom to get plugged into something. The other thing is one of the things that I feel the most proud of coming out of the People's March is this tool, this mechanism called the People's Toolkit. It is a way for you to get plugged in. There were over 100 organizations that were part of the People's March Coalition, and they all got work to do, y'all. So one of our folks is going to drop the link to the People's Toolkit in the chat. And then all you got to do is click that link. You can fill out the little form there. It'll, tell us what issues you're interested in. And you can find, once you get it, organizations that are working on that particular thing. If you fill out the form, we will also help connect you directly to those organizations. Okay. So please fill out that form. Please get connected to one of the
Other panelists, is Tamika also frozen for you, or is it just me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Tamika, we will give her a moment. give her a couple seconds, and if not, then we will just have to move on.
I think she dropped off, but she can come back and share some words at the end to round it out.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, we can hear from Tamika at the end. So I would like to continue on in our agenda. The next speaker that we have is Raquel Willis from Gender Liberation Movement. Raquel, I would love for you to introduce yourself, and then we can get into some questions for you.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna drop info and links. I cobbled those together really quick before I forget, because once I start talking, honey, anything could happen. So hey everybody, I'm Raquel Willis. I am co-founder of Gender Liberation Movement, and we are a collective invested in bodily autonomy, self-determination, and the pursuit of fulfillment for all. And we also believe in the value of collectivism. So we know that we can't get those things for everyone unless we all work together. And I first just want to give love to Women's March. Y'all have been building and working so long and so hard, even before, this really heavy week. So thank you for always being the glue, as we like to say, between so many different organizations and folks. And I also just want to take just 1 second to, I'm taking inspiration from someone that I was in space with this week, and just say I'm sorry to all of y'all that we are going through this right now, that the world feels this way and feels so heavy and scary for a lot of folks. So if someone hasn't told you that they're sorry that you're going through this and we're going through this together, I want to say that and just give y'all love. And thank y'all to everyone who showed up in support of the People's March just a few days ago. So with that, Gender Liberation Movement, just looking at the next 4 years, we know that there are so many unknowns, but right now, one of the things obviously that's weighing heavy on our collective is, of course, the executive orders that we have seen come down, particularly this discussion around trying to be very restrictive around how we talk about gender and sex, right? And we know that those are different things. We know that those identities and experiences are much more complicated than clearly Trump and his ilk can comprehend. I don't know if I can say his name in this space, but sorry. So that is something that's really heavy for us, but our focus remains the same. We are invested in media advocacy and narrative change on how to get folks to understand the connections between our experiences. We know that the same folks who are attacking access to gender affirming care are attacking access to abortion and reproductive justice. And so we want to build a mass movement that can make these connections around our gender experiences. And we are so thankful again to the Women's March for being one of our key partners in this work. We're also invested in direct action and cultural moments. So if you don't know about Gender Liberation Movement, please check out the link that I dropped. We had our first ever Gender Liberation March. Again, Women's March was one of our key partners on that. That was back in September, and it was a beautiful day. We had a lot of discussion on the stage from various experiences, people talking from a faith experience around why gender liberation matters, people talking from an intersex experience around why gender liberation matters, and on and on. And then we had a defiant radical rave in front of the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C., because we are not going to let these tyrants and fascists steal our joy. And so that's the kind of work that we're trying to do, is create these cultural moments, not just for resistance, right, but also for radical defiance and demanding our space for joy. So we are building out programming for that, and we will be able to share with you soon. And then the last pillar of our work is policy intervention. So we did have some wins during this election, particularly in New York State. where a lot of our people are based with Prop 1, and we want to continue to do work around what these kind of equal rights amendments or ordinances might look like in this new landscape. But that work, you know, as we can imagine, is a lofty goal right now, trying to figure that out. So those are the big buckets of our work right now. We're also focusing on highlighting affirming families. This year, we know that the family piece is really key in getting folks to kind of shift their thoughts around these things. And then I'll end here, but we have the upcoming ruling for the U.S. v. Skrmetti case, which is focused on gender affirming care. You know, it's very frightening, the Supreme Court makeup right now, and that this case is there. But, you know, we're trying to learn a lot from how particularly advocates for reproductive justice built new inroads and networks and actions after the fall of Roe v. Wade. And so that's a lot of what we're focused on. But we are working with the ACLU on their Freedom to Be campaign, which is linked to the Skrmetti case. So if you are in New York or the Brooklyn area, we will be having a quilt panel making event. So they're creating this quilt as an honor to Access for Gender Affirming Care, but also Trans Joy and Brilliance. Come out. It's February 1st from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Brooklyn Museum. We'll have some information about that soon. And then we are having a mass call for gender liberation, our first one on Monday. So check out the link that's in there as well. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for the time, and we'll continue to be in this space and building with Women's March.
Thank you so, so much, Raquel, for all the amazing work that y'all are doing. I know you have to jump, so thank you again for your time this evening. We will post those links again in the chat, and hopefully folks can plug into all the things that are coming up with Gender Liberation March. I would love to pass it over to our next speaker. We have Ana Lilia from Popular Democracy. Ana Lilia, if you would like to take yourself off of mute and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what Popular Democracy is doing, how y'all are strategizing to fight back, and share more about the upcoming trainings and work that y'all have that people can plug into.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I was doing a little dance because I'm excited to be here with y'all. First and foremost, like Raquel, I am just so grateful to be in community, y'all. A big thank you to the Women's March crew and to my broader movement family that was there to just not go quietly into the night. I mean, that's the bottom line. I think, like many of you, I'm proud that I took action with all of y'all. I'm proud that we marched, sang, stomped, a little bit of crying, a lot of singing and joy, because this is our democracy, this is our nation, this is our lives, right? We get one life, we get this one opportunity, and we have all of the responsibility, duty, and the right to help shape the conditions that we must live under. So I'm just proud to be able to throw down with all of y'all. And I see the massive, the expansiveness of this movement, just looking at folks, you know, tagging in from Hudson, Ohio. I have no idea where that's at. And folks in Denver, Colorado, which I do know where it's at. But either way, I'm just grateful to be in community. Now, if you're like me and you are hungry for the next thing that we're going to be able to do together, I got you, okay? I want to share, oh wait, I didn't introduce myself. Ana Lilia Mejia, I'm co-director for Popular Democracy. And if you don't know, Popular Democracy is actually a network of what I call professional troublemakers, y'all. We are the good kind of trouble, rabble-rousing, we will not go quietly into the night kind of organization. It's 50 organizations across the country who pretty much focus on one thing. How do we bring the folks who are at the margins to the center? Because we believe folks on the margins are the margin of victory. So in some states, you'll recognize us as in Arizona, affiliates like Lucha in New York, Make the Road, Cuff or NYCC, across the Eastern Seaboard, Casa, in Michigan, Detroit. I could go on and on. I will, if you want to learn more though, you could go to populardemocracy.org. Now that I've introduced myself and my organization, because I'd get in trouble for not doing that, I want to just share a couple numbers that I need you to hold on to. Are you ready? I like to get folks to lean in if you're ready, and I'm looking at the chat. The first number you need to hold on to is the number 92. Okay? There are 92 weeks before midterm elections, y'all. That is actually nothing. All right, so the first number to remember, 92 weeks. That's the amount of time, that is our runway. Okay, second number, very close to 92, is 90. 90 million people sat out this last election. Now, some of them did not see their issues represented. Others just are too disengaged or do not see themselves as part of the practice of self-governance. But we have 93 weeks to get that 90 million and more to come back into the fold, but not just come back, because any action is not enough. What we need is people to come back informed. So you're keeping with me on these numbers, right? 92 weeks, 90 million people, and then some. The other number that I want you to hold on to is, this one is a squishier number. I'm going to call it 20 plus, because there are upwards of 20, if not more, congressional districts in which the win differential, that means the space between the winner and the loser in that congressional contest, is within reach, where that win differential is actually less than 5%. And when you compare that number to the number of people, to the percentage of that 90 million, or those missing voters, what you realize is those districts are gettable. So you still with me, right? 93 weeks to mobilize millions of people. But more importantly, we now know the concentrated areas in which we could get to work, because 20 feels more doable than the entirety of America. And when you consider that the margin that Mike Johnson has to deal with, all we got to do is foment some trouble, foment some agitation. Y'all, we can do this. We have the runway. We know where to go. We can be strategic. We just need y'all to come into formation. So now here's the last number I'm going to give you. If you are like me, that you know that the way in which we actually build towards freedom is the daily practice of bringing our folks in to staying informed. Any blue don't do, but I'll be damned if you're going to make decisions about me without me. Okay, so the number I want you to hold on to, the last one, is this. I see folks putting out boycott. Let me tell you, what I want to boycott is racialized capitalism, and we are on the path. The number I want you to hold on to though right now is 25463. And you're like, what the hell kind of number is that? All right. We are going to be hosting on January 30th a fight back call where we are going to be training as many people as we could identify in those strategic geographies, as many people as we can identify that are ready, willing, and able to engage in community. And we're going to do three things. We're going to train you on Empower. It is a platform that is very simple to use to connect with individuals, to connect with your community, to connect with your neighbors. We're going to give you a list of 100 of your neighbors, folks that we can start to engage. And this isn't about, the power isn't in trying to say, vote for this person, vote for that person, but rather we need to listen. What are the issues that kept you home or brought you out? And how can we get ourselves into formation to pull towards a world that actually meets our needs as an entire community? So if you can text, if you're down, it's pretty simple. Join us on the 30th. You text the word LIFT, L-I-F-T, to the number 25463. And that is going to sign you up. And I know Folks are going to be putting it into the chat, and I'll put it in when I'm done talking. Sorry, y'all, I can't walk and chew gum and talk and put shit on the, oops, I didn't mean to curse. Actually, I'm from New Jersey, so I guess that comes out a lot. But the bottom line, y'all, is we have a runway. We know exactly what we need to do. We need to engage community, and the margins are actually gettable. It's whether or not we're going to take that stand, whether or not we're going to take that step. But I think together, like we did last Saturday, and like we will have to do over the next 92 weeks, I think juntos se puede. Together we can. I think the overreach that this administration is already taking is going to move our communities. But the bottom line is we refuse to go quietly into that night. So again, 25463, text the word lift. I see a lot of Jersey folks on here, so I'm expecting y'all to throw down, because there's also congressional races in Virginia and New Jersey that will set the tone and tenor before we even get to those midterm elections. I'm going to leave y'all with one quote that's been motivating me a hell of a lot from James Baldwin. And that is, I love America more than any other country in the world. And it is exactly for this reason that I insist on my right to criticize her perpetually. I leave you with those words. It is our duty. It is our right. It is our obligation. Let's be good ancestors, y'all. Let's be good ancestors to all of those who come after us. Together we can win. Together we will fight. Together we will survive everything that comes. So thank you, fam. And thank you, Women's March. Y'all are badasses. So I hand it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ana Lilia. And thank you for leaving us on that quote as one of my favorite Baldwin quotes. For those of you who have not been able to catch the links that we have been dropping in the chat, we will continue to try to drop them throughout the rest of the evening, but we will also send them in a follow-up email. So don't worry if you're not able to capture everything right at this moment. Thank you again, Ana Lilia. And next up, we have Nana from Baji. Nana, if you could come off of mute, introduce yourself, and we'd love to hear more about what y'all are working on, a little bit about the Lincoln-Riley Act that was just passed and the impact that that's going to have, and what actions folks can take.
Thank you so very much. So thrilled to be here. I'm so thrilled to be invited, thrilled to be back with the comrades, getting it on, making sure that we are doing the work that needs to be done. So my name is Nana Gyamfi, she, her, Wonu in the Tree language of Ghana, and I am the executive director of the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, which most people know as BAJI. We are a national Black organization that fights for the rights of Black immigrants and African Americans by advancing racial justice and immigrant rights. And again, really glad to be here. There's so much to be done. We know that this administration really, even before it got going good in the campaign, was already targeting immigrants and targeting Black immigrants in a specific type of way that fortunately we are all ready to push back on, I'm sure. We know that this administration really works on creating as much chaos as possible, on having people be as fearful as possible. And so it's really important that you all are here. It's really important that you all are engaged, helping us to understand, helping our community members to understand that we got us. Do we got us? Do we got us? That's what our people want to know. When we look at the work that Baji is going to be doing, and hopefully with all of you, a lot of it has to do with preparing our communities and preparing ourselves, protecting our communities, and then pressing forward, because we're not just going to be on response mode, right? We already learned. We have the lessons and we have the scars from this first administration of Mr. Trump, as well as really, frankly, the Biden administration in the area of immigration. We already know what some of the okey doke is, and we're not going to fall for it, right? And so, one of the things that we see coming out of these executive orders this week is an effort to make our community members feel unsafe. You're not safe anywhere. That's the idea. If you're a refugee and you thought you were going to be safe in the US, no, you're not, because we're not going to let you in. If you were an asylum seeker and you thought you were going to be safe, no, you're not, because we're not going to let you in. If you are, thinking that you can be safe in a church or a hospital or a school, no, you're not, because we're going to say that we're going to be able to come get you. And we at Baji are firmly standing with our comrades, with our partners, and saying, no. I almost cussed right there, but no. We are going to keep our people safe. Our people are safe because we got them. They got us. We are together. And so we're going to be asking you, those of you that are concerned about immigrants, those of you that are concerned about Black folks, we're going to be asking you to really focus on what is it that you can do, be it small, be it large, that's going to help our folks to be safe. Can you help participate in getting trained on how to do Know Your Rights? Do you know how to do Know Your Rights trainings already, and you're willing to be a part of that? Can you help folks to be able to make sure they have their paperwork in order? So if they happen to get picked up by ICE, their children are going to go to the right place, that they're going to go to people they love, and they're going to go to people that they know, that they have all of their paperwork in order, right? We're going to need people to help us with that. That's the work that Baji is doing in culturally competent ways, because though 1 out of every 10 Black people that is an immigrant in this country speak Spanish, people also speak French. People also speak Portuguese. People speak in their own languages. And so if you also have that skill, or if you know folks that have that skill, bring it on to Baji and work with us to be able to protect our community members, making sure that we are pushing back against this criminalization. Yes, the Lincoln Riley Act has passed. It's not a surprise. We know that immigrants are criminalized. We know that Black folks are criminalized. And that intersection of being Black and immigrant means that we are criminalized. Almost 80% of Black migrants who are deported because of contact with the police. It's already been that contact didn't have to be a conviction, right? And so we're already prepared in some ways for the fact that this is the way the law is. But we need folks to really focus on how we're looking at this enforcement system as one system. If you're an abolitionist on this call and you've been going hard and are going hard now on the issue of policing on the ground in the city, the county, the state where you are, guess what? You also should be talking about immigration enforcement, because a cop is a cop. Is a cop is a cop. Is a cop is a cop is a cop. Right. And so there isn't a reason for us to separate those systems. And in fact, as the Lincoln Riley Act shows and demonstrates once again, they will use the same instruments, the same prisons, the same police, the same guns, the same surveillance. They will use the same cops on all of us and the cop infrastructure. And so we need to make sure that if you're doing that work on the ground, whether it is trying to abolish police and jails and prisons and the criminal sanctions and punishment system, or whether it's trying to abolish ICE, if you are in the detention and deportation system, if you are ready to talk about this as one system and to kick its behind and dismantle it brick by brick, come on to Baji. Join us. We're setting up a table for folks doing that work on the ground so that we can really do this as a proper campaign. And so we definitely want to hear from you, and I'll share ways in the chat that you can get with us, right? But we definitely want to get with you because the impact of the Lincoln Riley Act is that you have people right now who just on an accusation can be held in a detention prison, which is just a prison, indefinitely, meaning without any end in sight, without bond, just because, right? And so we know that we're going to have to combine our efforts in order to fight that in the way that it needs to be fought. And then finally, which is connected, we need to fight this effort at division. even this birthright citizenship, did you notice that this administration that believes today that Black people have no rights, that white people need respect, which is the basis of Dred Scott, had the nerve to use Dred Scott in a executive order stripping people, or trying to strip people anyway, of their birthright citizenship. Just the gall, right? But it's purposeful. It's to pit African Americans, Black Americans against immigrants. Oh, we're protecting you, but we're not protecting these people, right? The call people in, and then you're being a patriot, right? All of this divisiveness, they're going to bring it even more. And so what does that mean? We fight fire, not with fire, as Comrade Fred Hampton taught us, but with water. So we fight divisiveness with community. We fight it with love. We fight it with joy. And so again, if you're ready to do that, if you understand that Black liberation is the key to all of our liberation for the people and the planet, if you're ready to take the issue of immigration as an issue that is going to help us push forward our human rights, human dignity, and the world that we want to see, then we're hoping that you will connect up with Baji. We'll have in the link in the chat how you do that. You could always reach us at info@baji.org. I'll have, where you can follow us, obviously on Insta, etc., and then a link where you can connect with us directly. So grateful to be able to have this conversation. This is our time. I'm excited about this time. I understand that it's painful. I understand that it's difficult. I also understand that we are the ones we've been waiting for. And my God, I love how we looking and what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nana. What a wonderful way to end. And, thank you for encouraging us to lean into collective liberation and echoing what Nana was saying, about getting in where you fit in. Sometimes people over-mystify what it means to do community organizing, what it means to do mutual aid. And a lot of the time, it really is just looking within and identifying what skills you can offer. What are the things? What languages do you speak? Like Nana was saying, what other skills do you have that you can lend to this movement space? That is really how the work gets done. So thank you for that, Nana. And I would love to continue along the agenda. Next, we have Claudia.
Monica, can I say one thing? I'm sorry,
Go
real quick.
ahead.
I see folks in the
Yes, ma'am.
chats. I've been dropped. Yes, I'm not gonna get back on my soapbox I was on earlier. I just want to say I was dropping the link to Baji's website in the chat, and I see people saying, we can't get the link's not working. The link's not working. Y'all have shut down the site. I just want to name it because I was literally just on the website right before I posted the link, and now it's not working. So, so the website is the website. It's Baji. So, I don't know if you're gonna jump in, but y'all have it's saying capacity error. Shout out to y'all for being on your jobs.
Thank you. I'm gonna go check on that right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you for flagging, Tamika. Okay, so where are we in the agenda? So next we have Claudia and Sophia up to talk to us a little bit about the work that they're both doing at Feminist Front and Young Feminist Party. Would love to hear about the big news this week. I'm not going to spoil that. I'll let y'all talk about that and talk about what's next. How can folks plug into the work that y'all are doing? What actions can folks take? So please, introduce yourselves and I will let you take it away, Sophia or Claudia, whoever wants to talk first.
I can go first. My introduction. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Women's March and all the amazing partners on this call. It's so good to be in this space with y'all. My name is Claudia Nachega. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Deputy Executive Director at the Young Feminist Party and a co-leader on the joint hashtag ERA Now campaign that we led with the Feminist Front.
Oh, that's me. I'm Sophia. Good evening, everyone. So happy to be here with you. Sophia Arman. I'm the co-director of the Feminist Front and also part of this wonderful joint struggle with Young Feminist Party, the ERA Now campaign. Claudia, do you want to start us off?
Absolutely. Okay. Obviously, we want to acknowledge that we had a huge loss. The whole country had a huge loss with a recent transition of power. But we also had a huge win on Friday that some people know about, some people don't. But former President Biden officially declared and affirmed the Equal Rights Amendment as the law of the land. He affirmed it as fully ratified, fully passed by Congress, and for all intents and purposes, the Equal Rights Amendment is the 28th Amendment to the United States Constitution. That essentially just secured us constitutional sex equality. And this is a fight that we have been fighting for over a century now. And for those of you guys who aren't super familiar with the ERA or who don't quite know what it says, the ERA is 24 words. Equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. That is the ERA in a nutshell. And this is a really big moment for us, especially considering the fact that we're heading into a huge fight with this current administration. There's also a little bit of confusion around what this means with the Equal Rights Amendment. What did President Biden really do? One thing I really want to know and make clear, as of right now, the ERA is law. It is the 28th Amendment. Anyone desperately trying to convince you that the ERA is dead is either an anti-abortion, anti-woman, and anti-queer and trans enemy of the movement who voted for our current oligarchs in chief into the Oval Office, or heard about the ERA all of 2 seconds ago and thinks that they know better than the coalition of activists, organizers, lawyers, and leaders, and every single woman, queer, and trans person who's been fighting for the ERA since its introduction. Those 24 words of the Equal Rights Amendment hold so much power. Those enemies, they want to see us lose, and they will throw up every single excuse about certification, publication, deadlines, etc., to deny us this win and rewrite the future of the Equal Rights Amendment, rewrite our feminist futures. They don't want us to succeed. They don't want to see us reflected and protected in our Constitution. They don't have the motivation to fight against the new regime we find ourselves in. But it is very clear, and we know this, that there is an army of lawyers, experts, and scholars that are on our side that are doing their part right now to fight those legal battles to defend the ERA in the courts. With the ERA in the Constitution, we are ending legal sex discrimination, and this includes gender discrimination. We have a tool to fight against abortion bans, defend queer and trans rights, and so much more. And this also means that this current Supreme Court would have to reconsider their decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. We know that this is the tool that we need to protect against all the rights and freedoms that the Trump administration is trying to take away from us. And I know that every single person on this call will probably never forget the shock and the loss we felt with the Dobbs decision, gutting our reproductive freedom and so much more. But that is not our reality anymore. We are no longer talking about losing Roe v. Wade. We are organizing to defend the ERA and reclaim our power. And the reason we know that the ERA wins, that this works, and why our enemies are so scared of the ERA is because for years now, state-level ERAs and state constitutions have successfully defended against abortion bans and attacks on our rights and fought for our feminist freedoms for years now. We know that the ERA works, even with its simple and plain language, and it's worked even in the most conservative states like Utah. So we know that our federal constitution without the ERA had always been ill-equipped to protect us against the conservative Supreme Court majority and folks that are MAGA and the Trump administration. But former POTUS's declaration of the ERA, because of our work, because of our relentless fight, just redefined our futures. And right now, we are going to play our part by mobilizing mass people power to continue that fight on the ground in our communities. Young feminists from the Young Feminist Party and the Feminist Front made this happen with the ERA Now campaign and the movement allies on this call. We shut down and occupied streets. We picketed outside the White House. We disrupted Congress, and we are gearing up to do so much more. And we're going to ask everyone on this call who is ready and fired up to defend the new intersectional ERA movement to join us and plug into our mass organizing call on Monday. And Sophia can tell you so much more about the next calls to actions that we have and how you can get involved.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia Arman. I'm coming to you from the Feminist Front. Thank you so much, Claudia. Thank you, everyone on this call. Thank you to Women's March as a true partner in the ERA fight, and also for uplifting young feminists of color, young feminists who are undocumented, young feminists who are coming from, refugee backgrounds. This is really our time to take hold, right, of what it means for this next chapter of feminism in the United States. I really want to say this to all of you because Claudia said it right, absolutely. It is literally about what we organize. That is what will define our future. If we decide to take action, our communities will be free. If we organize and get together, if we decide people power can outnumber, can outpower their money and their lies and their misinformation and their votes, we will understand quite literally that it is us that is the key to that. I'm telling you all today that, especially as young people, Feminist Front and Young Feminist Party organize young people into gender justice, racial justice, queer justice, and reproductive justice. I know many of you are scared, and I want to take a moment to acknowledge how messed up shit is. Don't let anyone gaslight you. It's okay to feel scared and angry and sad. Those are real things. And it's important that we validate them in each other. There are a million reasons why we got here, but one important key is what we do moving forward. I want to say this very clearly to everybody on this call because it is quite literally organizers. The organizers on this call today are heroes for me. They're who I want to be when I grow up, okay? And you all on this call listening, you're who I want to be when I grow up. Because guess what? Everybody is an organizer. If you're helping in your local community, if you're making food with your grandma and helping people survive, if you're organizing calls, if you're knocking doors, you're an organizer. Every person on this call can get in the fight. And now, whether we've been doing it for 50 years, for 3 seconds, and this is your call, this is our time. I want to lead us into some direct actions that we as the Feminist Front and Young Feminist Party are taking right now. What's most important to know is that people all around the world are relying on us, folks, to quite literally block the rise of authoritarianism. As feminists, we are a key pillar in that fight. We are quite literally a sector, a flank that must be mobilized. I really appreciate what so many people before who spoke on this call discussed. Nana, Raquel, really the idea that they are going for is to divide and conquer us, right? So let's give an example. Right now, there is a bill moving through Congress, an additional bill that's trying to say that it's protecting women from undocumented communities. What are we going to say? F that, right? We know that that binary is false. We know those people hate us. And we know that we are here to protect undocumented women, right? From sexual violence, from gendered violence. So do not believe the divide and conquer. And there is a very specific place, because I'm talking to a Women's March call right now, particularly for women identified individuals right now, to not let the struggle against gender injustice, against sexual violence, against misogyny, right, be co-opted in our name. Are y'all with me? Do you understand what I'm saying? Against immigrants, against Black folks, we see what patriarchy is doing. It is attempting to divide and conquer our people. And it's not just happening within feminist space. It's happening within those of us who come from immigrants and refugee communities, right? Are being recruited into the MAGA ideology, using queer phobia, using misogyny. So we will not leave anyone behind. And particularly as feminists, which Bell Hooks taught us, Black feminists taught us, right? This is about the struggle of domination. This is about literally reorganizing society. That is what feminism is about. It is about, do we need to keep living these lives of about destruction and competition, right? And more mine. Or is the feminist movement going to stand up, the intersectional feminist movement, the rooted feminist movement, and say, we want care. We want cooperation. We have enough resources for everybody. That's the feminism we're trying to build. So let's think about it as joint struggle right now. We are in it together against the rise of authoritarianism. We are in a very, very crucial moment in this country, but it's connected to people all around the world, including the global South. And we need you in this fight with us. So we are organizing specifically, our lane is young feminists, open to all backgrounds, all identities, all ages, but we have some very important upcoming actions. The way to know about those actions is we have a mass call on Monday. We encourage you to go to our wonderful comrades' gender liberation call on Monday 1st, and then come with us at night. We are going to be building into effective networks and chapters across this country around direct action, mutual aid, which is desperately needed right now, blocking the MAGA and Trump agenda, including intervening physically, and looking at how we can leverage our voices to really put pressure on politicians despite this one-party rule. So I want to say to everybody, the way you can do that is through signing up at our link, our movement partnership anchored with Young Feminist Front, Young Feminist Party and Feminist Front is at feministgeneration.org. You can sign up there now. We'll get you plugged in. Let's do it together. Thanks so much, everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much. Congratulations again on such a massive win. I remember us talking like 2 months ago, fighting so hard to get that thing published and just praying that Biden made good decisions on his way out, you know, and the ERA on top of Leonard Peltier being released, you know, the political prisoner, and many other folks who were wrongfully incarcerated. It is remarkable. So happy that we can celebrate that win. And also thank you for the sense of urgency, because we celebrate for a second, we take a breath, and then we keep going because we just got to keep moving. Speaking of continuing to move, so we have 6 minutes left, y'all. If folks can stick around a little bit past 8 o'clock, it would be much appreciated so that we can dive into a proper Q&A. We actually have one more speaker with us today. We have Emily Claire, who hosted a solidarity march in New York City this past weekend, who's just going to talk briefly about her experience and ways that, excuse me, ways that you also can host solidarity marches in the future if you're interested. So Emily Claire, I invite you to come off of mute and introduce yourself and talk to us a little bit about the solidarity march hosting experience. Emily, are you there? Okay, y'all, looks like maybe Emily might be having some tech issues. So I'm going to move us along into the Q&A session, and if she is able to join after we're done doing Q&A, then she can speak then. So I'm going to shift us into our Q&A session.
Malika, if I can just answer some of the things I see in the chat real quick, super quick. Hey y'all, it's Tamika again. So I see Emily is on. Emily, are you want to jump in? And then we can
So
come back to the questions. Okay.
just a little bit. Hello, everyone. Emily Claire from New York City, she, her. I am currently at work. I'm a hairstylist and I got a little bit late with this appointment. So I've been listening in on you all, but was there a specific question prompt?
Yeah, so Emily, I was just wondering if you could just share about like what inspired you to go ahead and host a march, because I know a lot of people think that you have to be a professional organizer or whatever, and just like you're at work, like you're doing hair, like you're doing the things, and you saw that there was nothing on the map for New York City.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious if you could just share a few words, like what inspired you to go ahead and host the march, and what did you learn, and like any words of advice or inspiration to other people who are like, oh, I couldn't do something like this, but letting them know that actually you could.
So yeah, great question. I kind of operated throughout this whole process from a standpoint of like somebody had to do it. I was just really shocked and confused when I saw that the map didn't have anything on it for New York City. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. Like we're New York City, we're making sure our voices are heard. And also all the marches I've ever done in New York City had such a great turnout that I was like, there's no way we won't, So I just kind of jumped into it a little bit, I guess, not as informed and well prepared as I would have liked to be. But luckily I have really great friends who do have experience with political event organizing. And so I was able to gather them together to help me in any way that they could. And yeah, I just all hands on deck, learned a lot of stuff really quickly, met a lot of people really quickly. And we ended up having about 2,000 people turn out. So it was a really successful march.
Yay, thank you so much for doing that, Emily. Definitely appreciate you. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us while you're working. Would you have anything you would want to say to people who are thinking about starting a march or action in their local community but are hesitant?
I would say just do it. Like somebody's got to do it. If you believe in the cause, you need to jump in, all hands on deck, and you're capable of more than you think you are. Because I definitely had a moment where I was like, oh God, what did I sign myself up for? But I did it, and I think, yeah, you're able to do more than you think is what I would say.
Thank you so much, Emily. Y'all heard it. You are capable of more than you think you are, and somebody has to do it. Somebody has to do it. So thank you so much, Emily, and thank you to all of the over 300 Solidarity Action hosts who jumped in to be that person to bring an action to their community. Yeah, so if you're interested, and I've seen some people in the Q&A, there were a few questions that I answered in there by typing. But if you are interested and you have questions about setting up an action in your community, email sistermarch@womensmarch.com and we will get you connected. We'll get you set up and get your questions answered. sistermarch@womensmarch.com.
And can we shout out both Emily Claire and both her hair color and her client's hair color, Poppin'. I just want to name it. Shout out to you, Emily Claire, for doing it big. And for hosting. And yeah, I see so many folks in there. What do we do? What's next? Again, twice a month, starting in March. Join us here. Stay tuned to our socials. Stay tuned to our website, womensmarch.com. You will find ways to plug in. We will be sharing more of these mass calls that are all these organizations that are doing important work, and ways to connect to them and ways to get in. The important thing is to get involved. And that means finding an organization somewhere, right? And also, if you want to, like Amanda was saying just a second ago, Sister March at womensmarch.com. You can also go there. What we're moving into, good people, is that we want people to be in formation to be able to lead actions, not just when we're doing a national distributed day of action, but whenever something is happening in your community. If you want to get plugged in to get trained on how to do that, email sistermarch@womensmarch.com so we can train you. We can connect you to other folks who are doing that same thing, who are also getting trained or who have some experience doing it, so that you can have a community of folks to connect you and support you so they can help you answer that question of, what about legal help? How do I get permits? I've never done this before. So we are trying to build our intervention as Women's March. Our commitment is to building the feminist resistance against fascism. And so we are going to be there to build that protest muscle with all of y'all. I saw in the, I'm going pretty quickly because we're at time and I want to get some of the basic things answered. I saw people asking, how many people on this call? At our peak, we had just under 2,000 people on this call, y'all. Shout out to all of you. And of course, the video will live on our YouTube as well. So if you want to watch it later, please, share it with your friends. It will live on YouTube. And again, as Malika shared, we will make sure that you get all the links for all of the organizations that have been on the call tonight, because we want you to get involved. Again, I know there was some issue with the People's March Toolkit link. We're going to drop a different link in here so you can still get plugged into the toolkit and you can still get connected to the organization, which is peoplesmarch.com/acts. I think Malika or Amanda, one of them, is going to drop it into the chat so that you can get connected directly to a number of organizations across a number of issues. We have climate organizations, we have immigrants' rights organizations, we have anti-war organizations, we have housing organizations, economy, poverty, labor organizations, all that you can connect through this link, and you can get involved. Find something to do, good people. And then what else was there was another question, I can't remember, but yeah, we're gonna keep dropping the links. Don't worry about saving the chat. All of those links, how to get sign up for all the mass calls and all the trainings, you will get all those things. And so you have a plethora, a menu of options on things to get into. So I want to stop there and I'm going to be quiet and pass it back to Malika to see if there's anything else that she wants to share.
I think you just about covered it. Very important. Please fill out that peoplesmarch.com/act. Go to that link and fill out the People's Toolkit information. It's super helpful, as well as Tamika mentioned, we're going to have a series of mass organizing calls twice a month, and getting to get a better idea of what y'all are interested in will help us inform the content for those calls. So please go ahead and fill that out. As Tamika mentioned, we will send you a follow-up email with all the links and the various organizations and actions that you heard about this evening. And with that, I think that Tamika,
sorry, one more thing. I'm sorry. I'm loading y'all with all the information. My bad. Also, so in addition, I said the mass calls twice a month, right? I said email sistermarch@womensmarch.com if you want to get trained up to host actions wherever you are in your local community, right? We also have monthly, every single month, our digital defenders training, our feminist cyber force. So if you want to get trained on how to combat misinformation and disinformation online, which we know, Donald Trump, the Elon Musk of the world, they are masterful at digital disinformation and misinformation, and not just digital, right? As Nana spoke to earlier, the attack on Black immigrants came very strongly through disinformation, and so we have to be combating that. So if you want to get trained on how to do that, every single month, we will have a digital defenders feminist cyber force training so you can get plugged in to that. And the last thing, I'm just going to say thank you so much. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Nana. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Ana Lilia. Thank you. Who did I miss? Did I catch everybody? Oh, thank you, Raquel. Thank you to all of the speakers and all of our partners, all of the People's March partners. Y'all, it was a lift and we got it done. And for people asking, we had some crowd counting folks who literally count crowds in DC for a living, who said we had over 100,000 people in DC on Saturday. So I just want to don't let the media misinformation and disinformation get at you. We turned up and turned out and showed up and showed out. So I appreciate all of y'all. And with that, if Malika, you got anything else?
That's it, y'all. Thank you so much for joining. Stay hopeful, stay inspired, and there's so much work for y'all to plug into. So we hope that you are leaving this call with a lot of information that you are going to take action on. Thank you all. Have a good rest of your